The alert came at midnight. Dae-hyun was drinking coffee in his small research outpost when the motion sensors went off. Something big was moving near the perimeter fence. Something really big. He checked the scanner display and his heart jumped. The heat signature was massive, far larger than anything that should be this close to his station. Dae-hyun grabbed his flashlight and walked to the window. The planet Talon 7 was always dark at this hour, and the double moons barely gave any light. Then he heard it. A sound that made his blood run cold. It was a low, painful growl that echoed across the empty land. Every settler on this planet knew that sound. It was a Vrask. Vrasks were the deadliest predators on Talon 7. They looked like giant tigers, but with 6 legs and armor plates made of something like crystal growing from their backs. An adult Vrask could weigh over a ton. They were fast, smart, and absolutely deadly. In the 3 years since humans started settling this world, Vrasks had killed 42 people. Dae-hyun should have locked the doors and called for help. That was the protocol. That was the safe thing to do. But that sound, that growl, it was not the sound of a hunter. It was the sound of something suffering. He made a choice that would change everything. Dae-hyun put on his protective gear and grabbed his medical kit. He loaded a tranquilizer gun with enough sedative to drop a creature that size. His hands were shaking as he stepped outside. The cold night air hit his face and he could see his breath in the darkness. He followed the sound around the side of his outpost. His flashlight beam cut through the dark, and then he saw it. The Vrask was caught in a trap. Not one of his traps. This was illegal poaching equipment, the kind that smugglers used to catch animals for the black market. The metal jaws had closed around the creature's front left leg, crushing it completely. Blood covered the ground. Several of the Vrask's crystal armor plates were shattered, probably from when it tried to escape. The creature turned its head toward him. Its eyes glowed yellow in the flashlight beam. Those eyes locked onto Dae-hyun, and for a moment neither of them moved. Dae-hyun could see intelligence in those eyes. Not animal instinct. Real thinking intelligence. The Vrask was studying him, trying to decide if he was a threat. Dae-hyun slowly raised his tranquilizer gun. His hands were still shaking. He aimed carefully at the creature's shoulder, away from any vital organs. He whispered, "I am sorry." "This will help," he fired. The dart hit perfectly. The Vrask made a sound like a cough. Then its huge body started to sway. Within 30 seconds, the creature collapsed onto its side. Its breathing became slow and steady. Now came the hard part. Dae-hyun opened his communication device and called his supervisor. Hwan answered on the 3rd ring. "Dae-hyun? It is the middle of the night. What is wrong?" "I found a Vrask caught in a poaching trap," Dae-hyun said. "It is badly injured." There was a long silence. Then Hwan said, "Get away from it. Call the containment team. They will handle it." "It will die before they get here," Dae-hyun replied. "The leg is crushed. It has lost a lot of blood. That is not our problem." Hwan's voice was sharp. "Those things are killers. You know the rules. Do not approach it. Do not touch it. Wait for the professionals." Dae-hyun looked at the unconscious creature. Even in sleep, it looked powerful, dangerous. But he had spent 5 years studying animals across the galaxy. He had worked with creatures that others called monsters, and right now all he saw was a living being in terrible pain. "I cannot leave it like this," Dae-hyun said quietly. "Dae-hyun, no. That is an order." Hwan was almost shouting now. Dae-hyun turned off the communication device. He would deal with the consequences later. Right now, he had work to do. He brought his full medical equipment from the outpost. Working carefully, he set up lights around the Vrask. The trap was old and rusty. It took him 20 minutes to cut through the metal with his plasma torch. When the jaws finally opened, the damage he saw made him sick. The leg was destroyed, bones visible through torn flesh. He could amputate, but that seemed cruel. Instead, Dae-hyun decided to try to save the leg. He had regeneration foam, the kind used for serious injuries. It was expensive and he only had 1 canister. But he did not care. He worked through the night. First, he cleaned the wound. Then he carefully set the broken bones as best as he could. He applied the regeneration foam, which would help the tissue rebuild itself over time. He wrapped the leg in synthetic bandages that would protect it while it healed. He gave the Vrask antibiotics and pain medication through an injection in its shoulder. The armor plates were a different problem. They were part of the creature's body, growing from the skin like fingernails. The broken pieces would have to fall off naturally, and new ones would grow back. He cleaned those areas and applied a protective coating. As he worked, Dae-hyun noticed something strange. The Vrask had a marking on its head, a pattern in the crystal armor that looked like a lightning bolt. It was beautiful and unique. Without thinking, he said, "I will call you Striker." "That is a good name." Hours passed. The sun started to rise, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. Dae-hyun was exhausted. His back hurt from bending over. His hands were covered in the Vrask's blood. But he was done. He had done everything he could. He sat down on the ground next to the sleeping creature and closed his eyes for just a moment. He knew he should go inside. He knew he should be afraid. But he was too tired to move. That was when he felt it. Something was watching him. Dae-hyun opened his eyes and found himself staring directly into the face of the Vrask. Striker was awake. The sedative should have kept it unconscious for another hour, but somehow it had woken up early. Maybe the pain had pulled it back to consciousness. They were only 2 feet apart. Dae-hyun could smell the creature's breath. He could see every detail of its face, the way its eyes tracked every movement he made. Those powerful jaws could snap his head off in one bite. Those claws could tear through his protective suit like paper. Dae-hyun did not move. He barely breathed. He waited for the attack that surely must come, but Striker did not attack. The creature simply looked at him. Its yellow eyes studied his face with that same strange intelligence. Then slowly Striker lowered its head back to the ground. It closed its eyes but kept breathing steadily. It was still awake, but it had chosen not to attack. Dae-hyun let out a breath he did not know he was holding. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. But he was alive. He was still alive. And somehow in that moment Dae-hyun knew that everything had changed. This was not just an animal. This was something more. Something the galaxy had not seen before. 3 weeks had passed since that night, and Dae-hyun's life had become something no one would believe. Striker had not left. The Vrask stayed near the outpost, sometimes sleeping in the open area behind the building, sometimes disappearing into the forest to hunt, but it always came back. Every single day it came back. Dae-hyun changed the bandages on Striker's leg each morning. The regeneration foam was working better than he had hoped. The leg was healing slowly but steadily. Striker would never run quite as fast as before, but it would walk normally again. That was enough. What surprised Dae-hyun most was not the healing. It was everything else. Striker understood him, not just simple things like tone of voice or body language. The creature actually understood what Dae-hyun was saying. When Dae-hyun said Striker, the Vrask's head would turn toward him. When he pointed at something, Striker would look where he was pointing. When he held out his hand in a stop gesture, Striker would stop moving. This was not supposed to be possible. Vrasks were predators, not social animals. They hunted alone and only came together to mate. They had brains big enough for hunting strategy, but no one thought they were actually smart. Not like this. Dae-hyun recorded everything in his journals. He took videos. He sent reports to Hwan, though his supervisor had stopped responding after the first week. Dae-hyun knew he was in trouble with the research council, but he did not care anymore. This was too important. Then Jiwoo arrived. The shuttle landed on a bright morning. Dae-hyun saw it coming and walked out to meet it. He knew they would send someone eventually. He just hoped they would listen before they made any decisions. Jiwoo stepped off the shuttle wearing full combat armor. She carried a rifle across her chest. Her eyes were wide as she looked around, clearly expecting danger. When she saw Dae-hyun standing there alone and alive, her mouth fell open. "Where is it?" she asked, raising her weapon slightly. "Behind the outpost," Dae-hyun said calmly. "Sleeping, probably. It hunted last night." Jiwoo stared at him like he was insane. "You are joking." "No, come on, I will show you." Dae-hyun started walking. Jiwoo followed slowly, her weapon ready. They went around the building, and there was Striker, lying in the sun exactly where Dae-hyun said it would be. The Vrask's eyes were closed, but Dae-hyun knew it was aware of them. Its ears had moved when they approached. "Oh, my stars," Jiwoo whispered. She stopped walking, frozen in place. "That is really a Vrask, a full-grown Vrask, and it is just sleeping there." "That is Striker," Dae-hyun said. "Striker, we have a visitor." The Vrask opened its eyes and lifted its head. It looked at Jiwoo for a long moment. She made a small frightened sound and took a step backward, but Striker just yawned, showing all of its teeth, then put its head back down. "See?" Dae-hyun said. "It is fine. Come inside. I will show you my notes." They spent the next 3 hours in Dae-hyun's office while he showed Jiwoo everything. The videos of Striker responding to commands, The medical record showing the healing progress. The behavior logs that prove Stryker was making choices, not just acting on instinct. This is impossible, Jiwoo kept saying. Vrasks do not do this. They do not bond. They do not stay with other species. They definitely do not protect people. Watch, Daehyun said. He brought up a video from 2 nights ago. The security cameras had recorded it. In the video, another predator, something that looked like a wolf with 4 eyes, approached the outpost. Before it got within 50 feet, Stryker appeared from nowhere. The Vrask made a sound that was not quite a roar, and the other predator ran away so fast it was almost funny. It is protecting you, Jiwoo said slowly. She sounded amazed and terrified at the same time. It is protecting its territory, Daehyun corrected. But yes, I am part of that territory now. Over the next few days, Jiwoo stayed at the outpost and watched. Her fear slowly turned into fascination. She saw Stryker bring back prey from a hunt, a large deer-like animal. The Vrask ate some of it, then dragged the rest near the outpost door. It was offering food to Daehyun, sharing its kill. Do you know what this means? Jiwoo asked one evening. They were sitting outside and Stryker was lying nearby, close enough that Daehyun could reach out and touch it. He did not because that still felt too dangerous, but he could if he wanted to. What does it mean? Daehyun asked. This is pack behavior, Jiwoo said. Stryker thinks you are part of its pack. It thinks you are family. Daehyun looked at the massive predator. Stryker's eyes were half closed, relaxed and calm. The creature that should have killed him on sight had decided he was worth protecting instead. Worth feeding. Worth staying with. Maybe I am, Daehyun said quietly. That night, Hwan finally called back. His face on the video screen looked angry and worried at the same time. Daehyun, the council knows. They know about the Vrask. They are sending inspectors in 2 days. You need to release it back into the wild before they arrive. I tried that last week, Daehyun said. Watch. He played a video for Hwan. In it, Daehyun and Jiwoo were trying to lead Stryker away from the outpost. They walked a mile into the forest, Stryker following behind them. Then they told it to go. They waved it away. They even threw rocks in the other direction, trying to make it leave. Stryker just stood there. It watched them start walking back to the outpost, and then it followed them. When they tried to walk faster, it walked faster. When Daehyun stopped and told it firmly to stay, Stryker sat down and waited. The moment Daehyun started moving again, so did Stryker. At one point in the video, Daehyun turned around and walked straight at Stryker, yelling and waving his arms, trying to scare it away. The Vrask just tilted its head like it was confused. When Daehyun gave up and walked back toward the outpost, Stryker immediately positioned itself between him and the forest, protecting him from any dangers that might be out there. It will not leave, Daehyun told Hwan. I cannot make it go. It has chosen to stay. Hwan closed his eyes and rubbed his face with both hands. This is bad. This is really bad. The council thinks you have been doing illegal domestication experiments. They think you have been manipulating a dangerous predator. Some of them want you arrested. I did not do anything wrong, Daehyun said. I helped an injured animal. That is all. You broke protocol. You ignored direct orders, and now you have a Vrask that acts like your pet. How does that look? Stryker is not my pet. Daehyun felt anger rising in his chest. I do not own it. I cannot control it. We exist together. That is all. Try explaining that to the council, Hwan said tiredly. They arrive in 2 days. Be ready, the call ended. Daehyun sat in silence for a long time. Jiwoo came and sat next to him. What will you do? She asked. I do not know, Daehyun admitted, but I will not let them hurt Stryker. I will not let them take it away to study it or kill it just because they are afraid. Through the window they could see the stars, and somewhere up there council ships were already on their way. Outside, Stryker lifted its head and looked toward the sky, as if it could sense the coming danger too. The council ships arrived exactly when Hwan said they would. Daehyun watched them land from his window. 3 large vessels touched down around the outpost, forming a triangle. Within minutes, armed soldiers in gray uniforms spread out, creating a perimeter. They moved like they were preparing for war. Stryker did not like it at all. The Vrask paced back and forth behind the outpost, growling low in its throat. The crystal plates on its back were raised, a sign of agitation. Daehyun could see the soldiers watching Stryker through their weapon sights. Everyone was tense and ready to shoot. Please stay calm, Daehyun said to Stryker, though he knew the creature probably could not understand complex sentences. They are just scared. Do not give them a reason to hurt you. A door opened on the largest ship and 3 figures walked out. The first was a human woman in a captain's uniform. She moved with military precision, her hand resting on her sidearm. The second was Ambassador Reltas, an insect-like being from the Keurig species. Its forearms gestured as it spoke to the others. The third was a human man carrying scanning equipment. They approached the outpost carefully. Jiwoo opened the door to let them in. Daehyun stood in his small living area trying to look confident even though his stomach was full of knots. Dr. Daehyun, the captain said. She did not offer to shake his hand.
I am Captain Voss. This is Ambassador Relthas of the Galactic Council and Dr. Kyung-soo,
our xenobiology specialist. Ambassador Relthas clicked its mandibles together in a way that sounded disapproving. Where is the creature? His name is Stryker, Daehyun said. And he is outside. He does not like having so many armed people nearby. It is an it, not a he, Relthas said sharply. It is a predator. A dangerous animal. Nothing more. With respect, Ambassador, you are wrong. Daehyun kept his voice calm. Stryker is intelligent. I have documented everything. Let me show you. They spent an hour reviewing Daehyun's research. Captain Voss watched the videos with interest. Kyung-soo took notes constantly, his eyes growing wider with each new piece of evidence. But Ambassador Relthas seemed unmoved. This proves nothing, the ambassador said. Animals can learn tricks. They can respond to rewards. This is not intelligence. This is simple conditioning. Then explain the protective behavior, Jiwoo said. She had been quiet until now, but Daehyun could see she was getting angry. Explain why Stryker shares food. Explain why it stays when it could easily leave. Humans, Relthas said with clear disdain, have a history of thinking they have tamed wild things, only to be killed by them later. You see what you want to see. You make pets out of predators and call it friendship. Then people die. Has Stryker killed anyone? Daehyun asked. Not yet, Relthas replied. But it will. That is what its kind does. Fresks are killers. They have killed 42 humans on this planet. This one will be number 43, 44, and more if we let this continue. Captain Voss held up a hand. Let us not jump to conclusions. Dr. Kyung-soo, what do your scans show? Kyung-soo looked uncomfortable. He glanced at his datapad and said, The readings are unusual. The creature's brain activity is much higher than normal for a Vrask. It is forming neural patterns we would usually only see in social species. Species that live in groups and cooperate with each other. What does that mean? Daehyun asked. It means, Kyung-soo said slowly, that either your equipment is broken or this Vrask is doing things its brain should not be able to do. Things that evolution has not prepared its species for. Ambassador Relthas made a dismissive sound. More proof that this is unnatural. Dr. Daehyun has clearly been performing experiments on the creature. Who knows what drugs or treatments he used? I only use standard medical supplies. Daehyun felt his face getting hot. I healed its injuries. That is all. I did not do anything to its brain. We have only your word for that, Relthas said coldly. The council's decision is this: the creature must be relocated to a secure facility for study. If it resists or shows aggression, it will be eliminated. You have 48 hours to prove that it is not a danger to human settlements. If you cannot, we will do what must be done. You cannot kill it just because you are afraid. Daehyun was shouting now. Stryker has not hurt anyone. The council has spoken, Relthas said and turned to leave. That was when things went wrong. Outside, the soldiers had been moving closer to get a better look at Stryker. One of them, young and nervous, had his weapon raised. When Stryker turned toward him suddenly, the soldier panicked. He fired a tranquilizer dart. The dart hit Stryker in the shoulder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Stryker roared. It was a sound of rage and betrayal, a sound that shook the walls of the outpost. The creature charged at the soldiers, moving faster than something that big should be able to move. No! Daehyun ran outside. Stryker, stop! But Stryker was not stopping. The Vrask hit the first soldier like a truck, sending him flying. 2 more soldiers tried to shoot, but Stryker was on them before they could aim. Claws flashed. Men screamed. Blood sprayed across the ground. Captain Voss was shouting orders. More soldiers were coming. In seconds, this would turn into a massacre, with Stryker being gunned down in a storm of bullets. Daehyun did the only thing he could think of. He ran between Stryker and the soldiers, putting his own body in the line of fire. Stop, everyone stop. To his amazement, everyone did stop. The soldiers held their fire because they did not want to hit him. And Stryker, who had been about to tear into another victim, suddenly froze. The Vrask's claws were raised, ready to strike. But when it saw Daehyun standing there, something changed in its eyes. Stryker lowered its claws. It took a step back. Then another. The creature was still breathing hard, still angry, but it was controlling itself. Choosing not to attack, Daehyun looked around at the injured soldiers. 3 men were on the ground bleeding from deep cuts, but they were alive. They were all alive. Stryker could have killed them easily. Those massive jaws could have snapped necks and crushed skulls. But it had used only its claws, and even then it had held back. The wounds were serious but not fatal, you see? Daehyun said, turning to face Captain Voss and Ambassador Relthas. Stryker stopped. It could have killed them all, but it did not. It showed restraint. That is not animal instinct. That is intelligence. That is choice. Captain Voss was staring at Stryker with a strange expression on her face. That should not be possible, she said quietly. Vrasks do not stop once they start attacking. They do not show mercy. They kill until the threat is gone. This one did, Daehyun said, because it understands that those soldiers are like me. They are people, and it has learned that people are not always enemies. Ambassador Relthas's face was unreadable, but its mandibles were clicking rapidly. You have 48 hours, it said again. Prove that this creature is safe or it dies. The Council will not risk human lives for your experiment. The ambassador turned and walked back to the ship. Kyung-soo followed, looking back at Stryker with wonder in his eyes. Captain Voss stayed a moment longer. I hope you are right about this, she said to Daehyun, because if you are wrong, a lot of people will die, and it will be your fault. Then she left too, and Daehyun was alone with Stryker. The Vrask came to him slowly and lowered its head. Daehyun reached out and for the first time touched the creature's face. The crystal plates were warm under his hand. We have to prove them wrong, Daehyun whispered. We have to show them what you really are. Stryker made a soft rumbling sound. Almost like a cat purring, but deeper, gentler. 2 days. They had 2 days to change the galaxy's mind about what was possible. 20 hours into their 48-hour deadline, everything changed. A distress signal came from New Haven, a human settlement 60 miles north. The message was short and terrifying. Vrask pack attacking. Multiple casualties. Need immediate help. Daehyun was in the outpost's command room when the message played. Captain Voss was there too, along with Jiwoo and Kyung-soo. They all heard it. They all knew what it meant. How many Vrasks? Captain Voss asked her communications officer. At least 5, maybe more. They have breached the outer defenses. The settlement has about 200 people inside. Ambassador Relthas appeared on the video screen from its ship. Captain Voss, secure the tamed Vrask immediately. We cannot risk it joining the attack. Stryker would not do that, Daehyun said immediately. You do not know that, Relthas replied. Lock it in a containment field now. That is an order. Daehyun looked at Captain Voss. She looked back at him and he saw something in her eyes. She was thinking about what she had seen. How Stryker had stopped its attack. How it had shown control. I have a better idea, Daehyun said. Let me take Stryker to New Haven, let it help. Everyone started talking at once. Ambassador Relthas was shouting that it was insane. Kyung-soo was saying it was too dangerous. Jiwoo was saying that Stryker could not fight 5 of its own kind. But Captain Voss held up her hand for silence. Explain your thinking, she said to Daehyun. Stryker knows me. Trust me. If there is any chance it can help save those people, we have to try. And if I am wrong, Daehyun took a breath. If I am wrong, at least we will know. You will have your answer about whether Stryker is safe around humans. You will die, Jiwoo said quietly. Those Vrasks will tear you apart. Maybe, Daehyun said. But 200 people will die for sure if we do nothing. Captain Voss stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. I will give you 1 chance. 1. If that creature turns on you or the settlers, my soldiers will kill it. Do you understand? I understand. This is madness. Ambassador Relthas's voice was high and angry. Captain Voss, I order you to stop this. With respect, Ambassador, Captain Voss said calmly. You are not in the military chain of command during emergency situations. Those people need help now. We are doing this. 30 minutes later, Daehyun was in a cargo transport with Stryker. The pilot, a nervous man named Tae-Wan, kept looking back at them through the cockpit door. The Vrask barely fit in the cargo bay. It had to crouch down, its head nearly touching the ceiling. I hope you know what you are doing, Taewon said. His hands were shaking on the controls. I hope we all know what we are doing. Daehyun sat next to Stryker, one hand resting on the creature's side. He could feel its breathing, fast and strong. Stryker knew something was happening. Something important. The Vrask's eyes were focused forward, alert and ready. When we get there, Daehyun said quietly, there will be others like you. They are hurting people. I need you to stop them. Can you do that? Can you help me? Stryker turned its head and looked at him. Those yellow eyes were clear and intelligent. The creature made a low sound, not quite a growl, more like an acknowledgement. They flew in silence for the rest of the trip. New Haven looked like a war zone. Smoke rose from several buildings. The outer fence was torn apart in 3 places. Bodies lay in the streets. Daehyun felt sick when he saw them. The transport landed in the center of the settlement. A woman in combat armor ran up to meet them. I am Yejin, the settlement leader. Did you bring weapons? Medical supplies? Soldiers? I brought something else, Daehyun said. He opened the cargo bay door. I brought help. Stryker stepped out of the transport and Yejin's face went white. Are you insane? That is a Vrask. You brought a Vrask here? This one is different, Daehyun said. Trust me. Where are the others? Yejin pointed with a shaking hand. The north side. They have trapped 50 people in the community center. We cannot get to them. Every time we try, the Vrasks attack. Stay here, Daehyun said. Keep everyone inside and safe. I will handle this. You will die, Yejin said. You and everyone else. But Daehyun was already walking toward the north side of the settlement. Stryker walked beside him, matching his pace. They moved through the empty streets together, past burning buildings and abandoned vehicles. The air smelled like smoke and blood, then they saw them. 5 Vrasks even bigger than Stryker. They were circling the community center, taking turns throwing themselves at the reinforced door. The door was starting to crack. Inside, people were screaming. Stryker saw them and stopped walking. Every muscle in its body tensed. The crystal plates on its back rose up. A low growl built in its throat, growing louder and louder until it became a roar that echoed off the buildings. The 5 Vrasks turned. They saw Stryker and their response was immediate. They roared back. These were their hunting grounds. Their territory. This intruder would die. The largest Vrask, clearly the pack alpha, charged first. It was huge, bigger than Stryker by at least 200 pounds. It hit Stryker like a boulder, and both creatures went tumbling across the street in a mass of claws and teeth and fury. The other 4 Vrasks looked at Daehyun. He could see the hunger in their eyes. He was prey, easy prey, alone and weak, but Daehyun did not run. He pulled out his plasma torch, the tool he had used to cut Stryker free from the trap all those weeks ago. It was not much of a weapon, but it was all he had. He thumbed it on and the blue flame roared to life. Come on then, he said. Let us see what you are made of. 2 Vrasks came at him from different sides. Daehyun barely dodged the first one, swinging his torch across its face. The creature screamed and pulled back. The second one was faster. Its claws raked across his chest, tearing through his protective vest. Pain exploded through his body. Then Stryker was there. The Vrask slammed into one of Daehyun's attackers with devastating force, driving it into the ground. They fought like demons, all teeth and claws and rage. Blood flew everywhere. Daehyun stumbled backward. The pain in his chest was bad, but he could still move. He could still fight. Another Vrask came at him, and he stabbed the plasma torch into its shoulder. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. For long, terrible minutes, it was chaos. Stryker fought the Alpha while Daehyun used his torch to keep the others at bay. He was bleeding from a dozen cuts. His arms were shaking from exhaustion. But he did not stop. He could not stop, then suddenly it was over. Stryker stood over the Alpha Vrask. The larger creature was down, its throat torn open. It was dead. The other Vrasks saw this, and something changed in them. Fear. They backed away, then turned and ran into the forest. They were retreating. Stryker roared after them, a sound of dominance and victory. Then the creature swayed and collapsed onto its side. It was bleeding heavily from multiple wounds. One eye was swollen shut. Several armor plates were cracked. Daehyun crawled over to it. His hands were shaking as he pulled out his medical kit. Not again, he whispered. I am not losing you again. Behind them, the door to the community center opened. Yejin and her people came out, staring in disbelief at what they saw. A human and a Vrask, both wounded, both alive, lying together in the middle of the devastated street. Above them, council ships circled, their sensors recording everything.